Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Ordertune, the soundtrack to the 2024 DLC for Splatoon 3 called Side Order. It is good. This is the track listing for sides 1 and 2 of this 4-disc soundtrack. And these are the tracks I added to my playlist off of the first half of the album. 36 out of 68 possible tracks on this section, so half. I took 16 of 38 from side 1 and 20 from 30 from side 2, so side 2 is definitely the more consistent side. I want to get to the other two sides of the album before I talk about everything overall, but I just have to mention here that my favorite song on the album is on this side, Unconscious. It's a great song that gets the feeling of kind of late 90s dystopian but still optimistic sci-fi down very well. It's just an incredible song, really a standout from the DLC on its own. Moving on to sides 3 and 4. These are the relevant tracks on sides 3 and 4. I've cut off the sound effects tracks and the live concert recordings since I'm not reviewing those. I did still listen to them. And out of these tracks, these are the ones I added to my playlist. 21 out of 47 possible tracks, so less than half here, but still close. Combined with the first two sides, I took 57 out of 115 possible tracks, which is 49.5%, so exactly one under half. I grabbed 14 of 33 from side 3 and 7 of 14 from side 4, so that's about half on each of those. This album is good, but it's not really one album. It's actually more like 4 or 5 albums stitched together, which means it's really all over the place, even when compared to the other Splatoon soundtracks, which also kind of have that vibe. Side order music is the biggest contributor, but it only makes up about a side and a half of tracks. The rest of the album is various other music put into the game after the release of the previous soundtrack album. Side 1 is just side order. Side 2 is half side order and half battle music released with various updates. Side 3 is mostly seasonal songs released with the seasonal Splatfest combined with some other Splatfest adjacent music like Big Betrayal and Daybreaker Anthem. Side 4 is half Grandfest music and the other half one of their live concerts, which I didn't put on here. The conclusion to all of this kind of mess is that you'd probably be better off listening to one disc from this album rather than the whole thing. Side 2 is probably the best. The battle music is the highest quality contributor here, although side 1 probably comes together the most because it's only side order stuff. All the other discs are kind of a mishmash. If the album ended at side 2, it would probably be a lot better. Not because sides 3 and 4 are bad, but because the feel of the album as a whole would be a lot more consistent. Some of the seasonal music is pretty great, but it does not fit well with the rest of the songs here. And the sort of chunking up style of, oh, this is all the Splatoon music, this is all the Frosty Fist, etc., doesn't work well. Because sides 3 and 4 are kind of the grab bag for all the random songs that didn't get released on the main soundtrack, they're clearly lower quality. Additionally, the side order music kind of on its own is a little disappointing. Free Association is not a very memorable in-game band, and I think they intended for the music to be sort of kind of stock royalty-free stuff that, in-game was released just to kind of put wherever. It does achieve this effect, but it also means the songs are kind of worse. They're not supposed to stand out, and they don't. So they're not as good. Also, most of the Dead Fish and Off the Hook songs are not as good as their Splatoon 2 and Octo Expansion stuff, which means this album feels lackluster on the front end, gets really good for like half a disc where they play all the battle songs, and then loses the flow for the rest of the album. Thus, I rank this album as the worst Splatoon soundtrack so far. It's bloated, mixed up, and doesn't really have enough good songs to justify its extreme length. There are periods where all the songs have the same style, like in Ordertune, and there are periods where all the songs are varied, like in the main soundtracks, but neither of those sections are good enough to push the album up in quality, so it just ends up as a mess. They should have seriously considered splitting this album into 2 releases, in my opinion, or restructuring it so that maybe if the album played as the songs came out in real life, because some of the songs on here came out early 2024 or late 2023, and some of them came out like right before the album released, kind of. So if they did them in chronological order, it might be a little bit better. You'd get more variety for the battle music, which would probably make the album better. That being said, in terms of video game soundtracks, it's still pretty good. It's long, but you never go too long without something kind of interesting. So it beats out most of the other video game soundtracks in my rankings. I definitely like Ordertune better than most of these soundtracks, but I expect different things from different games at this point. So things are starting to get a lot less comparable. So I think I'm going to be retiring this big video game soundtrack ranking. Unsurprisingly, this album does not take my top spot from 2024. That stays with Magdalena Bay's Imaginal Disc, which is definitely a much better album and has the benefit of being traditional and not a soundtrack, which does help a lot here. Thank you for watching. Next up, I'll be starting my reviews of every game currently on the Nintendo Music app in order of release date for the game. So the first up will be Super Mario Bros., released in 1985 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES. That is also why I'm retiring that big video game soundtrack thing, because that would be too much. So, yep, that's the end of the video. Stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.